Well, one of the suspects has also disputed the statement made by Police Minister Bekkie Cele that they were arrested yesterday.
Mr. Mjiaku, will your client be bringing a bail application?
This is not at this stage, Your Worship, and we concur with the support the state's application for the matter to be postponed, on which we will consult and consider.
Thank you. Accused number 3, Mr. Mlube, do you wish to bring a bail application?
Accused number 3, my hand is to pay. I am serving a sentence, Your Worship.
All right. Well, yesterday, of course, we heard from the police minister, Bekkie Cele, who said the arrests had been effected in Gauteng and in KwaZulu-Natal early in the day.
I'm happy to announce that there's been a breakthrough in the Senzo Meyiwa murder case. The first 5 suspects have been arrested between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. this morning in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. These arrests are as a result of multidisciplinary integrated approach to this investigation, which is working closely with the Director of Public Prosecution. The South African Police Service and the prosecution team are confident that we have a watertight case against all 5 suspects. At this point, we cannot reveal any further information as investigations are still ongoing and more arrests cannot be ruled out. In conclusion, for us in the police service, it was always important to take time and work thoroughly on this case to ensure justice for Senzo Meyiwa. While 6 years have gone by, we remain confident that these arrests are the start of bringing closure for Senzo Meyiwa's family, friends and fans, as well as millions of South Africans.
Well, let me go straight to journalist and author Mandy Wiener. Mandy, conflicting details in terms of arrest dates, certainly lots of questions around the watertight case that the police minister spoke about yesterday versus what was seen in court. The allegations that are being made by the suspects around a police conspiracy that is at play here. How often is it that we see suspects being emboldened enough as what we have seen, the 5 that were in the Boksburg Magistrates Court?
Well, Cathy, it does certainly happen where we have situations like this, but not necessarily to this extent. The fact that the accused refused to even get into the dock today, I think, was quite significant. And I think that does resonate with the public in this case, the fact that they're saying that they had nothing to do with this matter, that they were arrested at a different time to when the police say they were arrested. And this does play into that public doubt around this case, because there is a crisis of credibility for law enforcement in this matter. It is a litmus test because no one believes them, unfortunately, and the evidence is going to have to show that they've got the right people here.
You talk about credibility, and it's such a key thing in this case. Many of those outside court talking about how the Senzo Meyiwa murder case represents them, it represents their family. So what happens with it has a direct bearing on their lives and perhaps their own experience with the criminal justice system. And before this moment, there was a lot of pressure for police to get this right. You've covered your fair share of criminal cases, Mandy. Let's go through how things developed from the time that the suspects were in court to this mistaken leaking of information by the NPA. It all seems like a mess, but then maybe not.
It does look shambolic from the outside. So you've got this chaotic set of circumstances where these people happen to be arrested on the anniversary of Senzo Meyiwa's death. Clearly the police under huge amounts of pressure. The police minister then deciding that he's going to have this press conference, the family casting doubt. Then you've got this character of Gerrie Nel, who is the superstar pitbull prosecutor, who is now acting for AfriForum, lurking over this case. So the prosecution feels even more pressure. So the public is really looking at this case as a litmus test, as I said. Don't forget, we've already had one person being wrongfully prosecuted and brought before the court in this matter. There is so much pressure there is also this narrative that is in the public domain that it was somebody inside the house, and anything that goes contrary to that narrative, people are not going to believe. But then there's also this confusion around the strategy. So Gerrie coming out yesterday saying it was a hit. Then the indictment in court today clearly showed that the prosecution believed that it was an armed robbery. And then we have this document that was internal correspondence between the investigating officer and the prosecuting team showing that it may well be a hit because they are pursuing this investigation around Kelly Khumalo and her phone records and money that was lent to her. So that all creates a lot of confusion around whether the prosecuting team and the police are on the same page here and whether the public should believe them.
They're going to be under pressure to tie whatever loose ends exist before the 27th of November. But it's not new to see, although it may not be fully playing out yet, the blame game between the police and the NPA over where the bungling of cases actually takes place and who is responsible for not collecting what evidence that sometimes leads to the complete collapse of cases.
Well, Cathy, don't forget, this is a very complex case in many ways, and perhaps that's why it's taken a long time to resolve. And in the past, where there have been various layers of witnesses, and if this is indeed a hit, as AfriForum says it was, then it's all good and well for them to have the gunman before court. But we know from past experience that it's very difficult to get the mastermind, as Gerrie says, in front of the court and convicted. So if you look, as an example, at the Shrien Duani case, which was bungled in many ways, the NPA was not successful there. The Chanel Henning in Pretoria, of that mother that was shot dead, also again very difficult to prove who was actually behind it. They were successful in the Christopher Paniato case, but generally these cases are very complex. And you really need good, strong police work here if you are going to get the mastermind and not just the gunman convicted. And I'm not surprised the accused are saying we had nothing to do with this, because they know that they are playing into this public doubt, and they may not have had anything to do with it either. The forensics are going to tell us. And that's what we're looking at here. The DNA, we're looking at the bullet trajectory, the forensics of the pathology. That's all going to tell a story. And the phone records. Why don't they have the phone records so many years later?
It's an important question. And the fact that they didn't have those phone records prepared for today, Mandy, and that I would imagine is central to their case.
Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw in that internal correspondence that was accidentally released that they didn't have Kelly Khumalo's phone records yet. You would think that would be something they would have got a Section 205 on very early on, to get the phone records of everybody in the house and the accused and see if there's some kind of link between them. Also, in the indictment, it said that a hat had been left by one of the accused on the scene. Was there DNA there? Did they look at that? So there's lots of questions around the investigation that we don't have the answers to yet. But I think the biggest question hanging over this case is, do they have the right people? Was it a robbery? Was it a hit? And are there other people behind the scenes that are going to be charged?
Mandy, you've touched a little bit on the theme of conspiracy, and this is the extent to which accused can actually be believed and the version that they've put before the court today. When we look at the conspiracy theories around police officers paying people to arrest them, that, they effectively are part of this broader conspiracy to protect people with money, as they've said it, what would they need to do in order to prove that? I mean, you've worked on cases including the Radovan Krejcir matter, and he's accused police of the same thing. How successful has he been? How difficult is it to prove that the state has conspired against you as individuals?
So it's very difficult, and the Radovan Krejcir case is a perfect example, because it's in fact the same investigating officer that was involved in the Krejcir case is now involved in this case of Senzo Meyiwa. So either this investigating officer is seriously very good at cracking these complex crimes, and that may very well be. The AfriForum has said that he's done excellent police work, but the accused in the Krejcir matter say that it was a stitch-up, that they had nothing to do with the matter. They were just convenient fall guys because they were in the taxi industry, and this investigating officer and the prosecuting team had put together this entire case against them. So the accused in the Senzo case are doing the same thing, no doubt. They're going to follow the same path. But it is very difficult for them to prove. But then it's up to a court of law. It's up to the judge to decide whether or not the evidence before the court is sufficient to convict or not. And that's why we have to have faith in the criminal justice system, and that's why this will be such a litmus test.
Are there basic things, Mandy, that need to be done on the 27th of November to effectively change the course of what is the narrative now around this case, and I suppose bring that public confidence into the work that is being done by those investigating and involved in prosecuting this matter?
So we wait to see if there's going to be a bail application, although if most of these accused are already serving sentences for other crimes, that's unlikely, because a bail application at least would give us more information about what kind of evidence the state has against the accused. And we also are going to wait and see if they're going to make other arrests or not. I imagine they wanted more time, which is why they didn't want this document to leak. But they need to get the public to believe in the strength of their case. So we need to know what evidence they have. Do they have evidence that links these 5 individuals to the crime scene? Is it DNA evidence? Is it forensic evidence? Have there been pointings out? Have there been lineups? Or have people inside the house actually identified these people? What links them to the crime? And I think once that comes out, we might see public opinion sway, because so often in these criminal cases, as we saw from the Oscar Pistorius case and all the others, often the pendulum of public opinion will shift and will swing with whatever evidence is presented to the court.
Journalist and author Mandy Wiener, thank you for your time on News at Prime. Let's leave it there for tonight.